Anyway, 10ଟା ବାଜିବ ମାନେ 10ଟା ସେମିତି ଚାଲି 10ଟା ଇଷ୍ଟର୍ଣ୍ଣ ରଖିବା ଆଶ୍ରିତା ମା ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା ସଙ୍ଗୀତ
Jayaguru. Namo Tarare Dare Bakati Sumano Dore Namo Tarare Dare Bakati Sumano Dore Mukati Paracha Khatam Menti Buktiyaso Mukati Paracha Khatam Menti Buktiyaso Tiene Bore Sudana Mora Saso Tiene Bore Sudana Mora Saso Namasundurni Mera Namo Tatara Vera Namasundurni Mera Namo Tatara Vera Namo Gai Huo Bai Namo Ebarao Aso Namo Gai Huo Bai Namo Ebarao Aso Tiene Bore Sudana Mora Saso Tiene Bore Sudana Mora Saso Sapile Baba Kosonaso Sapile Baba Kosonaso Tiene Bore Sudana Mora Saso Jayaguru 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 Jayaguru
Jayaguru in essence, this is Bhaktima and I will be conducting the YA session for today. Let's get started with attendance. Bubbly?
Jayaguru
Jayaguru. Aishi?
Jayaguru
Jayaguru. Anik?
Jayaguru Anik Asuchi.
Okay, Jayaguru. Ansh?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Anshul? Jeet?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Aryan?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Ashrita?
I actually have to say Jayaguru Ma
Jayaguru. Jamu?
Jayaguru
Jayaguru. Divyam? Himi, Jagrat,
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru, Naitik,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Nibriti,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Pratisha,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Pratik,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Raishi,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Sanvi,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Charanya,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Saraswat, Perla,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Sarsak, Bobby,
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru, Chopi, Tracy, Jayaguru, Jimmy,
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru, Simran,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Srija,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru, Suhani, Yukta,
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru. Is there anyone I missed in the attendance today?
Jayaguru Ma, this is Saraswat. I don't know if you were able to hear me before.
Okay, I'll mark you present, Saraswat. Thank you. Anyone else? If not, Ashrita, can you please explain the meaning of the song you just sang?
Okay. This song beautifully describes the power and divine essence of chanting the holy name of the God. Here's the meaning of the verses. Who can truly take the pure essence of the holy name? Drinking this nectar will remove all thirst and suffering. A mute person will start speaking. A crippled person will climb mountains. The blind will see the supreme divine. Every branch of the name tree blooms with flowers full of devotion. Taste the fruit of liberation and quench your thirst. Life is like a big, wavy ocean, but the holy name is your boat. Keep chanting the name and find all your hope in the holy name. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Yeah, thank you for explaining the meaning of the song. We should definitely remember and always keep the holy name and mantra Jayaguru in our mind, and always remember Chakra. So that was thank you for sharing the meaning of that. So today in our Young Asking session, we will be reading a story from the Upanishads, from the Hindu scriptures, the story of Nachiketa. And in the past, we've talked about other stories from Hindu scriptures with young children who've had divine experiences and their own spiritual journeys and have overcome different obstacles and struggles. And in the end, they've achieved what they wanted to achieve, and they've displayed extraordinary strength, devotion, and wisdom, and also faith. And so today we'll be reading the story of Nachiketa, who had an interesting journey, and he showed a lot of courage, and he had a quest for truth. And I've shared this story in the email yesterday, so you can follow along. Bali, can you read the story for us today?
Jayaguru, Nachiketa, seeker of truth. In ancient India, Vedic sacrifices were performed with various intentions. Some sought prosperity, others desired victory, but the highest purpose was spiritual liberation. True triumph was not in conquest or material gain, but in renunciation and selflessness. A sacrifice was considered pure and complete only when the giver parted with all possessions without expectation, embracing detachment as the ultimate path to enlightenment. Vajrasravas was undertaking such a great sacrifice. The occasion was grand, filled with an air of solemnity and devotion. The sacrificial hall gleamed with elaborate decorations, and the air vibrated with the resonant chant of rishis, their voice rising in unison as they offered sacred oblations into the holy fire. The assembled guests, adorned in traditional garments, added to the grandeur. Vajrasravas had a son named Nachiketa, who was about 7 years old. At the end of the sacrifice, Vajrasravas gave away cows to the teachers, sages, and saints who had come from all over the land. As he started gifting the cows one by one, his little son, Nachiketa, came and stood by his father's side. He was surprised to see his father making a gift of only old cows that were unable to walk properly and were incapable of giving any milk. Nachiketa felt that by this unworthy act, his father would not get the desired result of the sacrifice. He approached his father and asked him, "To whom do you propose to give me as a gift?" The father did not pay any heed to the boy's question, but Nachiketa was persistent. He repeated his question 3 or 4 times. Vajrasravas could not contain his irritation. He became angry and said brusquely, "I give you to Yama, the god of death." Vajrasravas did not seriously mean what he said. What father would send his son away to the land of death? The words were uttered only in a mood of annoyance and anger, but the damage had been done. Nachiketa had decided to obey the words by his father by going to the abode of Yama. He felt that if his father was dear to him, truth was even dearer. He did not wish to abandon the truth. Vajrasravas, blind with fury, did not think of the consequences of what he had uttered. When he calmed down, he felt unhappy. However, it was too late. He might grieve as a father, but what he was done cannot be undone. Nachiketa prepared himself to go to the abode of Yama. Vajrasravas began persuading his little son to stay back. He said, "My son, you should not mind what I said in anger. In a fit of anger, I spoke harshly to you. You should not take it seriously." But Nachiketa was very firm. Folding his hands, he said to his father, "Dear father, I was told by you that our ancestors never went back on their words. I would like you also to be true to your word and thus continue the sacred tradition. Oh, my father, I do not want to disobey your order under any circumstances. The pursuit of truth is the gateway to heaven. Except for truth, all other earthly beings, men, animals, and plants grow, ripen, and die. Life is transitory and death triumphs over life. I am not afraid of death. At this moment, you should remember your ancestors and how they fulfilled their sacred duty and honored truth. As you know, unbecoming acts are done only by selfish people. Let us conduct ourselves in such a way as to gain the approval of the wise." Vajrasravas, though grieving as a father would, gave him permission as a sage and seeker of truth. Young Nachiketa eagerly sought the abode of Yama in order to fulfill the words of his father. Reaching there, Nachiketa found that Yama was not at home. There seemed to be none to welcome him. For 3 days and nights, the young boy waited without food or sleep at the doorstep of Yama's abode. Yama, on his return, was deeply grieved for this breach of the code of hospitality. He received Nachiketa with the reverence that is due to a guest. By way of atonement for having kept him waiting for 3 days, Yama offered Nachiketa 3 boons. He said, "Dear child, you have been kept waiting long at my door. You are a lover of God. I am exceedingly unhappy over this unintentional mistake. I shall grant you 3 boons." Nachiketa said, "Oh, sir, as the first boon, I seek the welfare of my father. He also should receive me warmly when I return." He made this request because, ordinarily, mortals cannot recognize spirits. To those who knew him, Nachiketa was considered dead to the world since he entered Yama's abode. Yama granted the first boon without hesitation. Nachiketa then asked for the second boon. Sir, I desire to know how one could reach heaven where there is no sorrow, old age, or death. Nachiketa asked this boon not for himself, but for the sake of suffering humanity. He wanted for everyone to learn the secret knowledge and free themselves from the sufferings of this worldly life. Yama was pleased with the unselfishness and broad-mindedness of Nachiketa. He gave the boy full details of a particular sacrifice, the performance of which one would take one to heaven. Pleased with his wisdom, Yama not only taught him the ritual, but also named it after him. Then, after came the last boon. Nachiketa asked, Revered sir, what happens to a man after death? When he dies, there arises a doubt. Some say he exists, others say he does not. I would like to know the truth from you. This is I asked for the third boon. Yama had not anticipated this. He had not expected a young boy to pose such a profound metaphysical question. Yama wanted to test Nachiketa's mental caliber before answering this. He stalled and tried to divert the boy from seeking an answer to the profound question. He encouraged him to ask for something else instead. Yama said, Nachiketa, on this topic, even the gods have doubts. The subject is very subtle and hard to understand, so ask for some other boon. However, Nachiketa was determined. He replied, You say even the gods have their doubts, but I cannot find a better teacher than you, so please teach this to me. Although Yama was pleased with Nachiketa's answer, he still wished to divert the boy's attention by tempting him with all kinds of attractive objects with which ordinary men enjoy themselves. He pointed to him all the good things of life, such as wealth, youth, beauty, and whatever else satisfies the senses. But Nachiketa declined to all of these firmly. To him, they were merely sensual pleasures. The very fact that he had met Yama himself was in itself a guarantee that there would be no lack of the good things in life, so he remained firm in his resolve. All he sought was the supreme knowledge, which would shed light on life's great problem. Yama was highly pleased with such a truth seeker. He said, Nachiketa, you are indeed fortunate. You have chosen the path of virtue and rejected the path of enjoyment. Only the wise choose this path which leads to liberation. Those who seek eternal truth must look beyond the fleeting pleasures of the material world and recognize the impermanence of physical existence. Liberation, or moksha, is achieved by realizing that the self, or Atman, is distinct from the ever-changing body and restless mind. The body ages, the mind wavers, but the Atman remains constant, pure, and eternal. Listen attentively so that you may learn to perceive this eternal truth and free yourself from the cycle of birth and death. Then Yama taught him the knowledge of the Atman. He explained that the true self is neither born nor does it die. It is beyond time, beyond change, and untouched by sorrow or decay. Those who realize this truth, Yama stated, transcend the cycle of birth and death. They then attain ultimate freedom. He taught Nachiketa that the Atman is like an eternal flame, unwavering and infinite, present in all beings but often concealed by ignorance and attachment. To attain immortality, one must detach from worldly illusions and recognize the self as the ultimate reality beyond the physical and the transient. Only by overcoming desires and distractions can one truly perceive the Atman and merge with the universal consciousness, achieving liberation from all suffering. These profound teachings from the essence of the Katha Upanishad, one of the revered scriptures that explore the nature of the self and the path to liberation. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru, thank you for reading the story. With the story of Nachiketa, there's a lot that we can take away with themes of truth and perseverance and also his search for knowledge. In the story, Nachiketa had the courage to seek wisdom and challenge what he didn't understand, and also he stood up for what is right. Does anyone have any questions about what we've read today? If not, let's kind of go through the key points of the story. So in the beginning of the story, Nachiketa was upset that his father was donating these old and weak cows. Shrika, why was he upset about this?
Grandma, maybe he was upset about this because he thought that his father may not be happy about it. Chico?
Yeah, that's one thing. So he saw in the story that his after this huge ritual and everything, his father's giving away. He's supposed to be giving away like goods and things to everyone who's coming, but he's giving away old and weak cows that couldn't really do anything or produce milk or help anyone. So he was concerned that all the work that his father's doing wouldn't have the full effect because he was not doing it in the right spirit. And the thing is that typically when there's charity or donations, it should be done like full-heartedly, not just halfway. Otherwise, it's not really fulfilling the spirit of it. So after Nachiketa asks his father, like, where would you want me to go and everything, his father says that, I give you to Yama, the god of death. And do you think that his father truly meant to send Nachiketa away?
Jayaguru, no, he didn't mean it. He just said it out of irritation and frustration. Jayaguru.
Yeah, that's right. So what does that tell us about the power of words?
Jayaguru, it shows that words are really powerful. And especially Nachiketa, he decided that he had to keep his word, and so he went to the doorstep of Yama.
Yeah, that's right. So he really took. He wanted words to have truth to them and to have power to them, and because of that, like whatever we say, it doesn't have an effect, and it's not so easy to just take back what we say easily. So it's really important to be mindful and be careful, even when we are irritated or emotional or even happy. So Nachiketa decided to go to Yama's abode, and he decided to follow through and honor like the truth of the words and try to do the right thing. And with that, he showed a lot of courage and determination, and he wanted to see what will happen next. So at Yama's doorstep, he waited for 3 days. Simran, why did Yama feel bad when he saw Nachiketa waiting at his doorstep for 3 days?
Grandma, I think Lord Brahma felt bad because from him waiting because he usually doesn't keep people like guests waiting like more than like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah. So imagine like you have a guest coming to your house. You want to make sure that they have the best experience possible because that reflects on yourself. And there is a phrase in Sanskrit, Atiti Devo Bhava, which means guest is God. And this is like one of those concepts that we usually think about, that whoever is coming as a guest, we should treat them the best way possible. And so Yama did not want to like even if he did it unintentionally, he wanted to make up for it for making Nachiketa wait for him without any food or any refreshments, waiting at his house. So it's important to also be hospitable to anyone that comes towards you. And so with the 3 boons that Nachiketa requests, there's different aspects to it. So the first one is for his father and his life, and then the second one is for the well-being of the world, and the third one is for his own self-knowledge. And let's go through the 3 boons that he asked for. Charlotte, what was the first boon that Nachiketa asked for?
The welfare of his father, and for his father to treat him warmly when he came back. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru, great answer, Shalab. So that's what he asked for. He wanted to make sure that everything was good with like his relationship with his father, and also to make sure that he could return back from Yama's abode and he could return alive. So that really shows the love for his father and his desire to like maintain that relationship and make that grow. And so Tracy, what was the second boon that Nachiketa asked for?
Jayaguru,
The second boon that he asked for was to know how one could reach heaven where there's no sorrow, old age, or death. Jayaguru, yeah, that's right. So what does that say about his character? Jayaguru, it shows that he's not really enticed by any of the physical material aspects that he could have asked for in the boon. Instead, he wanted to have more knowledge and understand the world better, and talk to Takayama about like liberation and how exactly he could reach that point, and to share the knowledge instead of just being selfish with what he was asking for. Yeah, he definitely was trying to be more selfless in that and show compassion to the world. And so that's something that Yama easily shared with him. And with the third boon, this one is a little bit more challenging. And what was the third boon that Nachiketa asked for, Yama?
Jayaguru, Nachiketa asked Lord Yama what happens after death, because it's such like an enigmatic question that no one really knew about, not even like the gods, as we learn later in the passage. Jayaguru?
Jayaguru, yeah, that's right. That's what he asked for. And what does that tell us about Nachiketa's character?
Jayaguru, I think it tells or demonstrates that he's very noble. He's very curious about the world and the way it works, and how that kind of guides him to make more good decisions rather than being distracted by material things. Jayaguru?
Yeah, that's right. And one thing that really stood out to me is that he's very curious. He wants to understand. And in the story, I think it says he's like 5 or 7 years old. But it really shows that it's never too early to start learning and start asking questions and wanting to learn more. So I think that's something that's really important. And another thing with this third boon, it's a very profound question. Like, even with the answer given in the story, it's a very summarized format, and we're still trying to learn it and understand and realize this week after week, right? So there's a lot of things that come with the answer to the third question. But initially, Yama refused to answer that question. Shanti, why do you think Yama first tried to divert Nachiketa's attention and try to get him to ask for something else?
Jayaguru, maybe Yama was overwhelmed by his intellectual power and wanted him to remain more like a child, so he tried to divert his mind by tempting him with more materialistic things. Jayaguru?
Yeah, that's right. I think Yama saw this little boy and was like, is he really ready to receive this information? Is he eligible for this information, and does he really want to know it, or is he just asking? So the things with when we're learning things related to religion and spirituality is that we have to really want to understand and learn it. Otherwise, just hearing it won't really make any impact. So we have to want to know it and want to have this knowledge. So Yama gives him lots of offers, like, I can give you wealth, I can give you this and that, but Nachiketa says no to that. Pratyush, what's the real reason that Nachiketa said no to all these offers of wealth and other things, material things?
Jayaguru, could you repeat that question one time?
Yeah, sure. So why did Nachiketa reject Yama's offers of wealth and pleasure instead of answering his main question?
Jayaguru, because he rejected those material objects, because he has to him they are no value. They're not important. They can be obtained at any time, and there's no real gain from it, only short-term pleasure. His goal is to understand the world and the truth behind it.
Jayaguru, that's well said. I really like how you worded the answer, that with these material wealth, it doesn't really matter in the long run because they're all short-term, they're going to fade away, but the question he's asking is more of a long-term, overarching question that that information will always help him. So I really liked how you said that answer. So I kind of have an open-ended question for you all. If you were given the same option from Yama, like between wealth and pleasures and all the material things, or knowing the answer to the question, which one would you choose? Aryan, which one would you choose if you had the option between the two?
Could you please repeat the options?
Yeah. So in the story, Nachiketa wanted to know the question. In the third one, he wanted to know like what happens to after death, what happens to the soul and everything. But Yama offered him like, oh, why don't you ask for material stuff like wealth and all the youth and other pleasures? Given that option, which one would you choose? Would you want the answer to the question, or would you want all the fun stuff that Yama was giving out?
Jayaguru, I would want to know the eternal truth, because all the fleeting materialistic things, well, they are fleeting, they're temporary, right? And they only exist in this world and not when we move on. And I think, as the story alludes later, like, in knowing the eternal truth, like, we can escape the cycle of birth and rebirth. And I think that's, like, the ultimate goal, right? Jayaguru.
Yeah, that's well said. I think this is a tricky question because you have to have that strong resolve to be able to want the answer to the question. Which one would you pick?
Jayaguru, I think I would pick the second boon, the one where he asked Yama how everybody could reach heaven, because I feel like that would be like the main purpose in life.
Yeah, that's nice. I think with this question, honestly, there's no wrong answer. But it's nice to know that like we are thinking in a more selfless manner, and we're also thinking of the future and asking for like what is actually important in the long run and for our own spiritual growth and improvement. And so yeah, Nachiketa was really not distracted by all this. He was staying focused and determined to understand this ultimate truth. And in the end of the story, it was talking about how the basis of this conversation formed the Kathopanishad, which is one of the older Hindu scriptures, and it talks about these topics. In this story, Nachiketa is exhibiting a lot of different character traits that we can learn from. Yukta, what are some character traits? What's the one character trait that Nachiketa shows in the story?
Jayaguru, one character trait that Nachiketa expresses in the story is virtue, Jayaguru.
Sorry, I missed the last word from your answer.
Virtue.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's something he really does show in the story. Let's hear from someone else. Saraswat, what is another character trait that he shows in the story?
Jayaguru, I think he shows wisdom as well. True.
Yeah, that's another one. I think with both of these, like he's valuing truth over material wealth, and also he's showing a lot of morality. Like in the beginning of the story, he wants his father to do the right and ethical thing, and then he does what he thinks is the ethical thing by going to Yama and everything. So he's thinking about that way. And in the story, there's a lot of things that we can take away from it. Gemma, what do you think? What's one takeaway you have from the story?
So, some takeaways I have from the story is just making sure that you think beyond your purpose is always spiritual liberation. It shouldn't be having any material gain or anything like that. You should kind of focus on, just how can I improve myself as a person and show my devotion towards ठाकुर Jayaguru.
Very well said. I think that's something that we always have to keep focused on, and remember ठाकुर, Jayaguru, and do this, have this daily habit of being focused on our spiritual growth. Let's also hear from Bobby. What's another takeaway you have from the story?
Jayaguru, one takeaway I had was Nachiketa always had like the true goal in mind, and he always wanted to find out the eternal truth. And he didn't let any of his other desires come in the way of that. And so just remembering that in not only our daily lives, it's like making sure that we are always keeping, I guess, the main goal of serving Chakra at the forefront. Everything else will be taken care of. And so just keeping that in mind, that's something that Nachiketa did. And it's a good lesson for us to keep in mind. Jayaguru.
Thanks for sharing. I like how you tied it into what we can do in our daily lives, what lessons we can take away. And I think it's really important that we stay focused and we focus on this long-term goal and nothing super temporary and short-term. And it's also important to be patient and persistent when searching for answers. Like Nachiketa, he waited for 3 days and nights without anything, and in the end he got the answers he was seeking. So there's a lot that we can learn from and be inspired by in the story. And I think we are at time now, so I'll conclude my session here. So next is Bhabima Vajit.
Jayaguru, today is my Bhabima Seba. Recently, I started meditating every day for 10 minutes. I've noticed that it really helps me calm down and reduces my stress. Additionally, I try to attend evening puja daily. I noticed that after sitting in puja, any problem I was worried about before doesn't seem like such a big deal anymore. I've been trying to stay more connected to Thakura by letting him know what I plan to do every day before leaving for school. Anytime I feel stressed for an upcoming event, I remember Thakura and it helps me feel more relaxed. What also helps me is remembering that I should give my best effort and leave the rest up to Thakura. I've been trying to apply more of Thakura's teachings into my daily life, since I've noticed that they help me become a better person. I pray to Thakura to guide me on the right direction. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. तो मु माने जेतेबेले भाई पठेले कि पाली सेवा नबार अछि माने वर्ष पई तो मन रे थिला कि माने केतले सलभ ब्रेक थिबो ताकि से उइटा सुविधा हो आसे पई तो सेति पे मु भाई को कहतली कि भाई मु फेब्रुआरी 16 टा माने फेब्रुआरी 16 पे पाई निकली चली ठाकुरन को तो बट माने लास्ट माने गोटे भी थिला टेंशन कि हमें आसी पाइबो न आसी पारिबो तापरे मोर चिंता थिला कि मु कहले सेवा करि पाइबे कि ना करि परिबिनी सेटा बहुत मन रे थिला तो ठाकुर को मु सब जाऊँ ठाकुर जदि मु जीवी सेवा न कले मत बिल्कुल भल लगे ठाकुर से भी मु पूरा आप समर्पण कर ठाकुर जमती मु जाए आप सेवा भी ठाकुर करी ठाकुर को सबुदिन मु जाऊ थाए ठाकुर मु जाए और सेवा भी कर ठाकुर ठाकुर आप तो भक्तवांछा कल्पतरु कृपामय आपण हूँ कृपा कले मु आसी पार्ली आठी मैंने सेवा भी कर पार्ली से मु आपण आगे बहुत कृतज्ञ तो ये आसिले जो गोटे एनवायरनमेंट थाए सेटा सेटू हो पारिबोनी से माने ठाकुर सब बेले गोटे जिनस माने मु निजे फील कर गोटे जिनस जन मन रो कि माने गोटे थी मन रे कि ना मुझे करी ठाकुर आप कृपा करूँ से मु ठाकुर जाऊ आप कृपार ये आसी ठाकुर आज माने लगे पाली नहीं तो भोजन आसिले भल लगे जाऊ ये आश्रम मंदिर अच्छा माँ भाई आसन सब तो भल लगुच ठाकुर ठाकुर जयगुरु ठाकुर एति कृपा कर कि आम एमती आसी पार था ठाकुर एति रही ठाकुर जयगुरु
जयगुरुमा कि कहले ए वर्ष आप कौन ठाकुर उपदेश पालन करेंगे कहतु रिजोल्यूशन कौन
भाई जयगुरु
किसी गोटे करतु माने वर्ष चली माने गोटे वर्ष इज लॉन्ग टाइम टू वेस्ट तो धीरे धीरे आरंभ करवा वन स्टेप एट ए टाइम एका दिन